Alright, what's up YouTube? You already know what time it is. Today we've got the fourth and final entry for the Looney Tunes PS2 games marathon. So start up your engines because we're going to talk about a racing game. And not just any racing game. This title was the second official racing game in the whole franchise, releasing about a year or so after its PS1 counterpart. And having played both on the channel, while they get the basic principle of racing down pat, Space Race is a particularly special game because the studio behind it put an interesting twist on the formula by making it center around space and futuristic hover vehicles instead of the usual karts. This design choice definitely helps the game stand out amongst the mountain of other kart racers that came out in this early 2000s time period. Now, I didn't play the original Sega Dreamcast version way back when, but I did try out the PS2 port for the very first time this year. When I was younger, I had quite a bit of fun playing titles like CTR, Nicktoons Racing, Mario Kart, Cartoon Network Racing, Sonic All-Stars Racing, Ants Extreme Racing, Flat Out, Burnout, Need for Speed, you name it. And compared to those games, I think this one makes for a decent contender. So, with that said, let's stomp that gas pedal and rocket blast our way into this review to see if Looney Tunes Space Race can keep on track. Looney Tunes Space Race was developed by Australian studio Melbourne House and published by Infogrames once again. Since this title started out on the Dreamcast, I can't say what exactly the differences are between it and the PS2 version. But what I can already say is that Space Race is a solid game overall. Even though it came out over 20 years ago, it still looks fantastic to this day. The cel-shaded art design for the characters and track themes is pretty nice to look at, as well as the sound effects and music. In a similar fashion to other titles like it in the genre, Space Race features all the bells and whistles that you'd expect with a nice coat of Looney Tunes paint all over it. There's an okay selection of characters to choose from, each with their own unique vehicles and style of play. Honestly, I didn't feel that much of a difference between them control-wise, aside from a few other characters that you unlock later on. Now, there really isn't much of a story in Space Race per se, but that's alright, given that it's a racing game. Basically, all the tunes assemble to race for the world's amusement on this Acme News Network TV show hosted by Foghorn Leghorn and Lola Bunny. It's not much, but it's a justification to go around racing, so sounds good to me. And you know, while I'm on the topic, it's pretty cool how you get to play as some of these characters that don't usually get to be playable in games or even have spin-off games of their own. The same sentiment could be said about its PS1 precursor Looney Tunes Racing, but don't worry, we'll get to that title eventually, trust me. Now, the main thing to do here besides local races is tournaments against the computer to win cup trophies and tokens. Or if not that, there's time trials and Acme events. The tournaments were always fun to do and hilariously all named after carrots. Even on the hardest difficulty, the computer-controlled racers don't put up too much of a fight honestly, unless you get blown up by a weapon right before the finish line or fall off the edge, which will most definitely happen a few times. It can slow you down considerably or make or break the race, but it's not that bad really. As long as you get the most points at the end of the cup standings, you will win no matter what. And collecting as many tokens as you can will be very useful for buying extras in the Galleria or unlocking new characters. I'd say the real difficulty comes from the Acme events, which features races with a set of different rules or conditions to follow in order to win. I found these to be the most interesting as it takes the mechanics and flips them on its head. Sometimes the common items will become obstacles and they can really make a race more crazy and chaotic than ever before. There are some races where the track is filled with these Toontown black holes all over the place, and you'll constantly be pulled into them unless you have invincibility on. Or objects will rain down from the sky, or all the items will be changed to bombs and rockets so you can really have a blast. And speaking of the items, I know it's par for the course that these racing games have weapons and tools to slow down your opponent, but the items here in Space Race really help capture the madness that is Looney Tunes, and were always satisfying to use. You can summon an anvil, piano, or elephant to crush your opponent flat, send them flying with a giant boxing glove, disintegrate them with a laser beam, or confuse them with a cloud of spray paint. And even if you do get hit by them, which can be annoying, it doesn't take too long to recover. Like I said, depending on how and when they are used can make or break a race for some people. Also, you know what else can make or break a race sometimes? The controls themselves. Now, don't get me wrong, the controls are easy to learn and frankly I didn't have too much trouble with them, but I can see some having a hard time getting used to the type of vehicles here. Many of the tracks have sharp, twisty corners that can make you fly off the edge from over or under correcting your vehicle, and sometimes if you don't build up enough momentum, you will completely miss a ramp jump and fall to your doom. It may take a little getting used to, but I can assure you it's still very fun and not as clunky as I'm making it sound. Also, for goodness sake, if you collect enough cans of gas to use your speed boost, it would be wise to only use it on straightaway paths because trying to steer yourself back onto the track going bird speed is gonna give you a bad day. One of my favorite things to do in these racing games is drifting. Unfortunately, that is near impossible to do when you're flying a freaking hoverbike. Nonetheless, I think the general idea of racing in space was executed rather well in this game. The graphics, mechanics, and overall style was decent, accentuated by a damn good soundtrack makes for a worthwhile experience. I'm still genuinely shocked by how good this game holds up after all these years. And when I said the soundtrack was good, I mean it's freaking great. I really loved the funky space age aesthetic they were going for. I ended up remembering the music from each of the stages more than the actual visuals themselves. Like yeah, it's really good. Here, have a listen. So with that, I conclude that Looney Tunes Space Race is a worthy addition to the kart racing genre that I'm sure anybody can pick up and have a good time with. Despite all the praises I've sang about it though, I do still kinda like Looney Tunes Racing on PS1 just a little bit more for the simplicity and similarities it shares with CTR, my favorite racing game of all time. But that doesn't mean sleep on Space Race. I think it's a fair contender amongst the other greats in the genre, even though it's just a licensed cartoon game. If you want to try it out for yourself, it's available on Dreamcast and PS2. Now, I'm not sure who the heck even still owns a Sega Dreamcast these days, but it's there regardless if you want to play it. Alright, it seems we have finally crossed the finish line for this Looney Tunes PS2 games marathon. I really hope y'all enjoyed it and desire to see more like it soon. Within a month or two, I will return to talk about the Looney Tunes games on PS1, and who knows, I may even experiment with other types of content as well. Feel free to share your thoughts on this marathon in the comment section below. I had a lot of fun putting these videos together and I can't wait to do it all over again very soon. Because trust me, this Cartoon Network Warner Bros. Marathon is still far from over. So once again, thanks for watching another episode of Anubis Black Games. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.